Welcome to the Holiness Today podcast. On this episode, we are joined by Bryan Koopmans, who is connecting with us from the Netherlands. By day, Bryan works as a validation engineer, but he also dedicates his time to producing media for the Eurasia region, including the new Everyday Eurasia Podcast. In this conversation, we discuss the complexities of multi-language ministry, the rich history of the Dutch Reformation and Jacobus Arminius, and Bryan's personal journey toward a call to full-time missions. Bryan Koopmans.
Yes.
Lives in the Netherlands. Tell me where you live at.
I'm living in the Netherlands, in Vlaardingen. And Vlaardingen is a smaller city next to Rotterdam.
And you volunteer your time with the Eurasia region. And what do you do with your full-time work? Because you're in the tech sector too, I believe, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's true. For my daily living, I'm a validation engineer. I'm doing the validation of clean rooms by pharmaceutical companies and the tech industry, hospitals, surgical rooms. And normally I'm the whole day only measuring and making reports. That's my job for
That's
daily.
what you spend most of your time. And then tell us what you do with Eurasia region. You got a lot of exciting things I want to follow up on, but tell us how you got connected. Well, let me rewind the clock. How did you get connected with the Church of the Nazarene? Did you grow up in the Church of the Nazarene?
No, I didn't grow up in the Church of the Nazarene. I grew up in the Salvation Army, in the traditional Salvation Army family. And the problem I think for the last 15 years or more in the Netherlands with churches, they start in gray and people get stuck in traditions. And that is not only the problem of the Salvation Army, but just Dutch traditions. And at that time, I was feeling alone in the church and I had nobody from my own age. And for me, that was a very important thing to grow in my faith and my road with Jesus and God. And I had always the big wish to around people from my own age. And I said to God, now I think I have to leave here and I will stop and I will disappear somewhere in the society and going out of the church. But instead of that, it was going the other way. And at the birthday for my sister, a friend of her was asking me to join a television production from the Church of the Nazarene in the Netherlands, Experience TV. It was around 2014, 15. And they needed some help. And I was already volunteering for the local broadcaster in my city. And I had some experience. And I just joined the television show with producing, camera work, video directing. And that is how I entered the Church of the Nazarene.
And share a little bit your connection or what you do with your Eurasia directly. So you've just launched the Eurasian podcast. You're a producer on that. But how did God use your talents and your skills to help out the Eurasia region?
The Eurasia region, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. I was on the district camp from Luxembourg. Our NYI president of our country and the district youth worker invited me to join that camp. And I met there Amy Warner, that is the NYI president of Eurasia, and the Eurasia youth coordinator. And we was talking about a media camp. They want to organize a media camp for our region to get young people more involved with media in the region and to do some courses. And I said, yeah, sure, of course. In our church, we are used to that. And we've, I think now, a big television studio almost in our church, how we film our services on Sunday. So that equipment is free to use, even the building. So if you like, we can keep the camp in Vlaardingen in the Netherlands. And we did. And after that conversation, I remember Crystal and Chet Gibbons, also part of the Eurasia region now, was visiting our building. And they invited me for a podcast meeting. I even didn't have a chance to choose for or to join, but they say, yeah, we're expecting you in the coming 2 months in Manchester, and we want that you're going to join that podcast meeting. And it was really great. We had a good gathering with people from around the Eurasia region in Manchester, and a gathering of a weekend. And we was thinking about the podcast. But in a later moment, it got stuck. We had many ideas. That is for you, I think, working in the same way. You have a lot of working with distance and time. We are all volunteering, many of us, and how we gonna produce that. But my local ministry in my own church, I was doing it for 8 years, or maybe longer, with filming and directing the church services at Sunday morning. I had the feeling it was time for something new, and they say, Brian, you have to give your tasks to somebody else in the church, and maybe you can join the region for media. And I made that choice, and I did that in that way. So now sometimes I'm making videos for the Eurasia region, editing videos, what is coming inside, and also now producing a podcast.
Yeah. And when did the podcast launch? It looked like you were about 20 so episodes in. So when did you guys officially launch?
At I think it was the first day of the regional conference. I think the 3rd of November. The regional conference, the Eurasia Regional Conference, was the start of the podcast, the Everyday Eurasia Podcast. And the original idea is to start your day with a daily devotional from, in this case, a pastor from around the region, to inspiring your everyday faith.
Yeah.
So every workday from Monday till Friday, we have a small devotional to reflect on your day.
And we're going to attempt something we haven't done on the Holiness Day podcast, but we can play the commercial, I think, and we'll record. We'll try it out. So if you want to play us, we're going to listen to a promotional for the Eurasia Everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Everyday Eurasia Podcast, inspiring faith for every day. Each day we are on a journey with Jesus in our churches, our homes, our workplaces, and in so many different places around the world. Isn't it beautiful that no matter where we are, we can walk with Him every single day? Jesus is the one who connects us all and stands at the very center of our lives, day after day. Through this podcast, you'll hear voices from across the region.
Grace and peace to you from our Lord Jesus Christ.
Then Jesus said to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a property, and charges were brought to him.
The sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook.
Sharing devotionals that reminds us of God's presence in our everyday moments. Everyday Eurasia, the podcast, is available from Monday, November 3rd, every weekday on your favorite podcast app.
That's great, Brian. And so we'll put a link to that in the show description, but you guys are consistently pushing that out. Looks like you got several episodes in Monday through Friday. Wow. That's a good. Yeah, so that keeps you busy, I bet. So, are you doing a lot of the sound editing on that and everything, or what role do you play with it?
We working in a podcast team. Our Eurasia communications coordinator, Michelle Lyam, and Kristen Birchfield. She's now on the West Medfield in Portugal, and the three of us making this podcast. So I'm doing the sound editing and doing the hosting of the podcast.
And then you're also working on a couple others. Is that right? There's a couple other in the works coming out of Eurasia, and then also for your individual church. Share a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, the other podcasts, we have many ideas for podcasts. Podcasting is, it's these days instead
media.
of. I'm originally a guy from the radio. I was always working on the radio, and the switch still radio and podcast is for me a small step. But I really love to create and to create podcasts, and we have many ideas. What is also now running for a year. I have with Chad Gibbons from the Eurasia NDI. We're trying to make a Wesley podcast at the moment, and we still looking to go further with that project. It's also a little bit on the pause. We are all busy with our daily jobs and what we have to do for church. But if you like, I can let's hear
let's hear another
sample.
one. Yeah.
Do you have oil in your lamp? Grace in your heart? Do you love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength? Do you have the same mindset as Christ Jesus? Are you truly in Christ? a new creation? Have the old things passed away and all things become new? Do you participate in the divine nature? Do you not realize that Christ Jesus is in you? Unless, of course, you fail the test. Do you know that God lives in you and you live in God by His Spirit which He gave you? Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, who you have received from God? Do you have the inner witness of the guarantee of your inheritance? Have you received the Holy Spirit? Or are you surprised by the question and unsure if there even is a Holy Spirit? If you're offended by all these questions, it's a sign that you're not really a Christian. You might not even want to be one. If you call yourself...
Yeah, that was one sample of our project for Wesley Revisited. Wesley Revisited, it's a podcast project for Wesley sermons in everyday language.
Yeah.
In daily language.
That's great. So that was Mark Lowe doing that. Yep. The
Yeah,
regional
that's true.
director. Yep.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to be doing it in multiple languages? Is the goal?
Only in English.
English,
And,
okay.
It's also the language of these days. It's a translation for
Yes.
for these days.
Yeah. Kind of more modernized
Yes.
English language and adapted for podcast format and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. So share a little bit about the difficulties you have on the Eurasia region of how large that region is as far as, is English the most universal language to cover the most areas in Eurasia? Or share a little bit. I mean, that's not your first language. You are a native Dutch speaker, but share a little bit about the complexities of all of that and how you're managing that.
Yeah, that's so true. And that is very complex also. When you're creating media, that is even our biggest challenge, all these languages in our region. With the communication team, we always try to do our best to provide the audience, or in this case, the members of the Eurasia region in the churches, good media. And also media what is coming to your heart. You know, also if you're speaking in your mother tongue, that is the media that is spoken in the best way to you. And even for me, it's sometimes difficult with my English to check everything. Is everything in the correct sentences, or in my writing, or in my speaking? But for everything what we're doing, that is the biggest challenge from all these days. Sometimes we get a video from global communications, like for the web or for Alabaster, and we have to translate it. And then we have our communications team, and we will try to translate it in multiple languages with the people in the region. So even these videos can reach the churches in their own language.
Off the top of your head, how many languages does Eurasia cover?
Ooh, I did it a lot. I didn't count them. Even Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, French, English, German. Poland has their own language. Croatian, Hungary, Bulgaria. These are all Italian.
Yeah.
So we have there a very big job to do. Yeah. And we also trying to make that easier with using what I'm doing for the region with AI. AI is a great tool, a great help to translate some videos with subtitles.
Yeah, I can't even, the complexity of what you're reaching. I mean, because the Middle East falls within the region as well, if I remember correctly. It's just such a large area to cover as far as languages and people. I'm inspired by what you guys are working on, so that's great. But happy that you guys got that going, and want to share with our listeners where they can get that in the show description and whatnot. Now, what's the timeline on the Wesley? Is the Wesley one launched yet, or is that up and coming?
No, we still wait to produce more episodes. We still have to make the decision how we're gonna go further. Some people switched from role in the region. In this case, Chet is going from finance to NDI. Crystal is doing now her communications job for global missions. So we have to find time somewhere what we're gonna do with this podcast. So it's in the store, but I really hope there will be a time that we can publish this podcast.
And I find that becomes the blessing and complexity of getting something done is you got to find the right person that feels called to do that, that feels that's something they want to get involved with. So that's always, we'll be praying for you on that one. So where were you born? Were you born in Rotterdam? Is that where you were born?
Yeah, I'm born in Vlaardingen. And Vlaardingen is
Vlaardingen.
It's a small city next to Rotterdam.
Rotterdam, yeah. And it's spelled, that starts with so my Dutch is terrible, but it's you spell it with a V. Is that right? It starts VLAA.
Yes.
RDINGEN. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
And say it again. Say it.
Vlaardingen.
So growing up, again, I don't know. Just help me with the Dutch history context. But was Erasmus the big deal there? Was that growing up? Because he's Erasmus of Rotterdam, because you kind of share a little bit about how you got connected into looking at local history, plug for Arminius there, because you started being curious about that. But were you led to Arminius by Erasmus, or how did you come across Arminius? And tell us about the project you're working on with that as well.
Yeah, local history and Dutch history is one of my biggest fun time hobbies. I'm watching a lot of documentaries, reading some magazines or books about Dutch history. Even local history here in my city, knowing what is going on and where you're growing up. And with Erasmus and Arminius, that they are big theologians from their time. And even with a world influence here in this small, tiny country that's called the Netherlands. Like Erasmus, it's always here a big discussion. Is he from Rotterdam or is he from Gouda? Gouda. Like the Gouda cheese, and with Arminius, that's always a bigger case. That is always, we are a Calvinistic country, and the reason why we are Calvinistic, whose choice was that, and why are we living in this Calvinistic country? I'm growing up like in a Wesleyan Armenian tradition in the Salvation Army, and we are you're feeling like almost foreigners in your own country, because you're telling I'm from a Wesleyan or Wesleyan Armenian holiness tradition, then people looking here at you, are you from a sect or what are you? And that is also when I have the conversation with you. It's a total different conversation for me with people from around the region in the Nazarene world than I have that with other Christians in my own country. And it would be always different. And if you're telling here about the holiness Armenian tradition instead of the Dutch Reformed Church, that are two total different things.
Yeah. And you were saying that Arminius, in your context, is still in a way kind of looked as I don't want to say villain, but not celebrated, looked down upon a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, that is true. The very fun thing is, in our country, there are a lot of streets with his name, even with the small letters below it. It was a theologian from this and this time. But in the church world, in the Dutch church world, he's not a big celebrated guy because the Calvinistic roots from our country. And the good thing to know about Arminius is in the way why he was thinking what he was thinking. He was living in a time in the Spanish Inquisition, and the Spanish was here our guest or our depressor, and they make a lot of mess and war around, and they burned whole villages down, and even his village. He lost his father, his mother, and I remember a brother or sister, and they were all gone because the Spanish Inquisition. And if people telling you at that moment from now, your family, I don't know, we are Calvinists, so they're going to hell because they are not preferred to going to heaven. And to believe that in that time, when people saying this to you, he was thinking further in this case from, hey, I see so much awful things happening around in the country, and I can't believe that my lovely family, what didn't anything wrong, is going to hell. That was the big discussion with Arminius and Gomarus in Leiden, in the University of Leiden. The fun thing is, sometimes I'm working in the University of Leiden or near the University of Leiden. Then I'm walking in Leiden, and then I'm also passing the church where Arminius was the pastor. And it's the St. Peter's Kerk, and it's a very well-known church in Leiden. It's now it's not a church anymore, unfortunately. They have no services anymore, but it's now an hall of the university when they have a graduation or a party or somewhere else. But his name is still on the building.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you and Eric, is my understanding, started the pre-project, the research side of it, on working on a documentary about Arminius and kind of questioning why Arminius, or why are we Arminian, is kind of your leading question. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah. What I see in the Nazarene world, we're always talking about Wesley, but the second we saying we are we having a Wesleyan Armenian tradition, and we're always talking about Wesley, but Arminius is nobody is speaking about Arminius. And if you even doing some research, Nazarene, Arminius, maybe you will find some projects or from students or from other churches, some files, but not kind of sermons or whole videos. If you're looking for Wesley videos, what is made by the Nazarene, you will find a bunch of them. And for Arminius in that context, you can find them. So we was very curious why we talking always about Wesley and never about Arminius.
I've run into that as well. I've wondered. I've asked the same question, but us Nazarenes like Arminius. Obviously, Carl Bangs was a big influence on the Nazarene world, getting into Arminius. But and his sister Mildred Wynkoop also wrote Wesley Arminian Theology, I think was the name of her work. So it is an interesting research that you're into, and I'm excited to hear more about that. What in a larger context, what would you say for our listeners would be a good book to, if they wanted to know more about Dutch history? Do you have high recommendations for that?
I'm not a great reader. I'm always doing my research on internet and watching some documentaries. And maybe there are some subtitles available. Maybe we can put them in the show description. We have here the Evangelical Broadcasting on the state television, and they made a beautiful documentary about Arminius. I was thinking in 2 episodes, and it's for each episode, I think 25 minutes or half an hour, and they're telling about the story from Arminius and the Dutch Reformation, and why this Dutch Reformation was for the country so important. We can share maybe the link in the show.
I'm looking up that now. I definitely will if I could find that. Is it Ryan Reeves? Is that who does it, or am I looking at something? No, I'm looking at something else.
I will check for you later, Nate.
Yeah, we'll get that in there. Yeah, because it's interesting as a lover of Dutch history. The whole you went back to the Spanish because something that's interesting when you look into it. They're being a part of it was the Holy Roman Empire, if I understand correctly, and then Charles V gives it to his son, who's in Spain. That's still part of the Netherlands, but then Germany's kind of getting cored out because of what's happening with the Lutheran Reformation, and so then there's a war between Spain and the Netherlands, and then the Spanish Inquisition at the same time is pushing Jews out of Spain, and a lot of them end up in the Netherlands, while at the same time William of Orange am I getting that right? Is that all the kind of history that leads up to Arminius?
That is so true. Even William of Orange was not William of Orange, but his son was choosing that we are Calvinists. So the royals had a big decision in our beliefs, because it's also the opposite of William of Orange, because William of Orange, his mindset was we will have a country with freedom of religion.
Right, yeah.
And we get never there in that time. Yeah.
And at the same time, which is interesting, and I'm going to ask you a follow-up question on this that you brought up in the podcast that you did for Eurasia. At that same time, you have the Dutch East India Company globally expanding Dutch trade.
Yeah.
Now, is that where the tulips come in? Because you mentioned the tulips come from Turkey. Is it related to the age of expansion of the Dutch East India Company? Is that when the tulips started getting involved, or were the tulips in the Netherlands prior to that?
That I'm not sure, but in that time, the Netherlands was full of immigrants. This country is building up with immigrants, and in this time we have, how I say that wisely, some people say stay away from politics in this kind of podcast, but you see it in Germany, Italy, in whole Europe, USA, everywhere in the world. The politics are going to the right more. But they don't believe our country is built by immigrants, and our country does, because we get never so big in our business as we do now without immigrants. And they are a very important part. And I think from the Turkish part, they brought it with them. And
okay, you think it was okay? Yeah.
They found it out. If I put it here in the ground, then I have every year a tulip. So they're coming every year back. And it's a good habit for the tulip to grow here in the ground.
Well, and it looks like from the history that I've done is the history of the Netherlands around that time period. Not only was it immigrants, but it was persecuted people, because you also had a huge influx of French Huguenots, I think, that came up that were being persecuted at the same time. So Jews, French Huguenots, other Protestants, like you said, Arminius, his whole family was wiped out by the Spanish that were fighting. So it's kind of a nation forged by the oppressed, in a sense, of the wars of religion that were.
It was a refugee country.
Yeah.
Even for German, the French, the people from Belgium in a later stage. Later, when in the past Belgium was part of the Netherlands, it was also the Netherlands. And after they split, they had also a kind of civil war. There was something happening with the French, and they moved also to the Netherlands.
Yeah. And Belgium and the Netherlands split based off of Roman Catholic and Calvinist reform. Is that the split? Was Belgium the Roman Catholic, Dutch?
And the most funniest thing is the Calvinist for our country starts in Belgium, and later it was turning in the other way. The Catholics was in the north, the Protestants was in the south. And later, till in these days, the Catholics are in the south and the Protestants are in the north.
That's interesting. So that's switched. Now, something else I learned, you can fact check me on, is that the Dutch are the major reason, them and the French, for why coffee became so international and such an international trade. The story I read, I was doing a history of coffee research recently, is that the Dutch brought back a tree to the botanical gardens in Amsterdam that was kind of the mother tree for a lot of Cafe Arabica, not how to pronounce that correctly, for most of the world. So the Dutch are also, we can thank the Dutch not just for the tulips, but also for the coffee that we enjoy. Is that right? Am I understanding that a little bit?
Yeah, we have here different minds on this moment here, because we have like England and Spain, Portugal, like a lot of European countries, and colonial history, and how we get there in this coffee business in the past with slavery and other kinds of stuff. These days, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, our king, Suriname, I think I will speak it in English, Suriname, was part of the Netherlands. It was a colonial part. And he made his pardon 2 or 3 weeks ago, our king, to Suriname for our colonial history. And it was normally, we was talking about the black people, but we also call it a black page in our history, because slavery was a very awful and a huge thing here. How people moved around the world. So if you say thanks for the Dutch for the coffee, I think I'll always twice in this case.
And through that international trade, like you're saying, it spread to well, through the French as well, but through to South America and then through all Jakarta,
Yeah.
and Indonesia and throughout that. It's fascinating. Yeah, I think I read one time that the largest business interest in the world at any point in time was the Dutch East India Company and all of the holdings that they held for a long time. So it's a fascinating history. But and then also I was reading recently, you mentioned freedom of religion, but that I think the earliest synagogue in the New World, I think, was in New York City, and it's because of the Dutch bringing that freedom of religion mentality to New York was very influential in New York being a very welcoming area of the American colony. So we don't think about the Dutch and their influence on the New World, but there's a lot of influence with the Netherlands.
New York was our lost project from America.
The English took it, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
they sell the warship in there and just said it's ours now, kind of thing.
Yeah,
so,
that's so true. If you're going to New York, that is very fun. You know the neighborhood Harlem?
Yes. Yeah,
that's
part
Harlem.
Name. Yeah,
it's Dutch. It's Haarlem. It's the city of Haarlem.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is the city of Breukelen. Broadway is broodweg. That means bread, what you can eat, and then way. Wall Street is Waalstraat. All this kind of names in New York are refers to the Dutch period of New York.
Yeah.
Well, because before New York, it was New Amsterdam.
Yeah. Well, the New York Knickerbockers, the NBA team, the basketball team, is orange. It's got the Dutch orange, and the Knickerbockers. Shout out to the early Dutch pilgrims in New York City. So there's still some of that, Dutch history. I think the state color of New York is still orange. I think.
Okay.
I think there's a shout out there to the Dutch history. But yeah, fascinating stuff. So where is your history? So you're looking at Reformation history, but what got you interested in Dutch history, and where did you start looking into? What area of history did you kind of jump into first?
For me, it's the whole timeline of Dutch history. For me, it was very interesting because my family lives also around the country. So I'm living in the west. A lot of family is living in the north. I have a little bit family what's coming from the east. And I was looking in my family tree. I think, hey, we're all from all the country. There's a part from Amsterdam. There's a part from Groningen. Over the whole country. And I think it was very interesting when I'm looking into the history of our family. Well, there are a lot of stories even from our family. And slowly I get more interested in the Dutch history. Even in my radio time, I was a radio producer here at the local broadcast station, and I was the technician of a radio program, and they was talking about local history here from my city in Vlaardingen, and that makes me interesting for Dutch history and a lot of fun facts always. So I'm on that road, and it's more a hobby.
Yeah. Well, I love history as well, but I have found that at least how I frame things, knowing how we came to be or where we're at is helpful to make decisions going forward. So it's always good to know context for me. Anytime I come to a situation, I want to know the context of the situation. So I share that love of history as well. So it's a good hobby for me as well.
Nice. Well, do you have a favorite kind of history, Nate?
Well, there's a meme about this, so I'm going to get in trouble, but I always was interested in Roman history. So I loved Roman history, but ancient history as well. I still do love reading the Old Testament and then just thinking about it in context of what was going on in the larger world. I always thought the book of Daniel was fascinating with the different empires of the world that were, listed. So I wouldn't say a specific time frame, but I other than maybe just ancient history. But then as I got into school, I got pulled more into kind of our history, So I looked at Wesley, and then I did something on the Reformation for my master's, and now working on with Arminius. So I have a mutual love of Arminius with you, but it's helpful for me to kind of see how we came to where we're at now. So I would say church history probably is where I'm at now, but I probably started with Roman history, which I think they make that joke that a lot of us do, kind of thing. So
It's really nice.
yeah. But yeah. So, but yeah, I find it fascinating, and in my love of history, just recognizing how influential Dutch history has been on us specifically, but also the global impact is fascinating stuff.
And for me, it's a normal thing for me. It doesn't change anything. But if you're looking in the world history, you can find the Dutch in a lot of books and a lot of reports also. And they're starting everywhere business, like Wall Street with all these bank companies and all kinds of stuff. It's really interesting.
It's fascinating too through the global trade that they were a part of, that you have Dutch history in Japan, in Brazil. I mean, because there was a global trade that was going on.
Yeah.
I was reading history about the history of the church in Japan, and was reading about the Jesuits and the persecution that took place there. But the contact, it's really funny because they say, well, Japan didn't have any contact with the Western world until the 1900s, except for the Dutch, who were still trading with. They still managed to have trade relationships with Japan all through that time period, which is just fascinating stuff. So when do you think your project on Arminius, what's the next stage that you guys are going to be in? So you're going to try and do some, because your love is film, is that right? That's kind of where your first love is.
We love to film it because the nice thing from this project is we living nearby the places where he was. So if you want a visual of Arminius where he was walking, how does his world was looking, all these buildings are still existing. Even the conversations in that time with our first president in that time when we was a republic. He had conversations with Gomarus and Arminius and the president in the parliamentary building. It's one of the oldest working parliament buildings of the world. And they're doing now a renovation, but all these buildings, they are still there. Even the rooms where they were staying, it's still there.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, his Declaration of Sentiments, was that done at The Hague? Wasn't it in the court there? That's fascinating. Yeah.
So the government was sitting of the country in The Hague, and the Dutch Reformation. I have here a very big drawing on my wall. It's very fun. It's a drawing what we have in the family for I think almost 50 years with the Tower of Dordrecht, where from the Church of Dordrecht, where the Dutch Reformation was the meetings.
That's really neat. So in your love of history, did you get into art history at all? Dutch art, Golden Age? That's a huge part.
Even the Night Watch?
Yeah.
The Night Watch.
One of my favorite paintings.
Yeah? Do you know the man in the gold? Yeah. The man in the gold is Willem van Ruitenburg. And Willem van Ruitenburg was the landlord or the owner from my city. And his garden is now a park. And it's behind my house. Yeah,
that's really cool. So you get to be around all of that art history.
Also buried here in the church here in Vlaardingen. He was buried here. Yeah, it's all this kind of For us, it's also our country is not so big, so everything is near from us.
Yeah, no, that's really neat. Well, I had read somewhere, so you can check this in your documentary. You might already have checked this to see if it's true, but I had heard that Rembrandt's stoning of Saint Stephen, when he was painting that, he was also paying attention to, inspired by the Dutch Calvinist remonstrant back and forth that was going on. Not that Stephen was Arminius, but he was thinking about some of the persecution. I've never fact-checked that, but I've heard that Rembrandt's painting.
I'm not sure if you're following the storyline of Rembrandt. He has total different kinds of job. And the distance in the time in society was so big between a painter or the news from society, theologians, news. I think with what Rembrandt had to do in that time with his painting to getting famous, he get a lot of royals on his floor to paint. I think he didn't keep that in mind.
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. I'm only thinking.
I'll have to see what I was reading about, but it was something that I read. I'll have to find where it was that it was in a book on Arminius, and they were saying something about, but that was the way that they were dealing with the remonstrance. So, but yeah, anyways, I'll have to look that up. But yeah, well, something I always ask my guests: Are you a coffee drinker as a Dutch?
I am.
Yeah, big coffee drinker. So is that a big deal in the Netherlands? Coffee?
Not for everyone,
No.
but I am.
Yes, you are. So do you have a certain way that you prepare your coffee? Are you
No, I'm a poor coffee drinker in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we came far away from a coffee tradition, but these days, for a real coffee tradition, you have to be in Spain, Portugal, Croatia. We lose our coffee traditions through the years.
Yeah.
So if you want to go for a really good coffee, don't visit the Netherlands. Then you have really to look for somewhere
They
else.
haven't kept it up, though. No.
Yeah.
There's a company here in America. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're growing quite tremendously. They've made it to Kansas City now. It's called Dutch Bros. Have you heard of them at all? It's a coffee company, and they I think they're I want to say they started in the West Coast, but they're making their way. They do a good job of marketing, but they're always busy, so it seems like people really like them. But I wondered why they named themselves Dutch Bros. I don't know the history of coffee or not, but makes me think. So.
Yeah, we are also only the traders of coffee in the past, and not the makers.
Right. Yes. Well, Brian, is there anything that you'd like to plug for the Eurasia region? You got a couple podcasts coming up, but is there any other plugs that what do you guys got going forward coming up? What are you looking forward to in the next few months and years with the Eurasia region projects coming forward?
Yeah, I'm doing the video part and the audio part now for 1 or 2 years. And it's a really pleasure to do. You know that I think also when you're speaking with people around the world, you have some gaps before your eyes, and they're going slowly open when you're looking into the world in the Christian Nazarene world. And I really like the content that we get and the conversations to edit. And I really hope that's the biggest challenge for now for our communications team is the translation of videos. So I really hope we get more people available or able to do translation on videos to keep the message closer to the hearts of people. Because in your mother tongue, when you speak a message, if you have one from the regional director or from the Global Ministry Center, they have beautiful messages. But if you have the language that is the closest to your heart, that is always the best video or audio podcast. And I really want to grow in that for translation of the podcast or videos, and also to make more videos around the region, to make more content from different countries that people, and to make people able and to train them also to make some nice videos. So we have a lot to do in that case.
Yeah. But before I let you go, what can our listeners be praying about for you? That's great. But what could you? It sounds like you're a busy person. You're working full time and you're helping Eurasia, so we can be praying for your business. But what's on your heart that we could be praying for?
I'm at the moment in process to being a missionary, and I really love to serve the region with creating media and to tell the stories from others. But I'm feeling I have also the problem what you're saying already with my work. I don't have enough time to create all the projects or to help with other projects. So if people can praying for that, to being a missionary, then I would be a missionary for the Eurasia region to help in creating the media content. And I really hope that I can serve there in a good way, that God will help me and to put me on the right roads of life to be there and to serve for others.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of where, if you did do that, where you'd live at? Would you stay in the Netherlands, or do you think you'd move around as a missionary?
I think I will move around and looking around me where I'm going to be staying. I can also helping fields, of course, with media. And there's so much to do. You see also in this interview, my head is a little bit overflowing from all the work that we have. But I really enjoy to do it. It's a really pressure, and it's always feeling when I'm editing an audio file or editing a video file. For me personally, it's really a blessing to work on the projects of the region. I've now experience for radio and television for 15 years, and it was always a big hobby, and it is even a bigger hobby now that I can serve with my talents. And that is for me so important, to serve with your talents. You can serve in a way that you don't like or are not able to or don't have that talent. But for this, I know with that experience, I'm glad that I can bring that to the church and use it here.
Yeah, it's always a blessing to discover people who are using their talents for God. There's this what's the old phrase? If you do something you love for work, you never work a day in your life, kind of thing. So the fact that you're able to do what you love for work is really neat. So and you put out good quality. So I was listening to your podcast this morning, and it's good audio quality. So I really appreciate that. Good on the ears. We'll definitely plug that in our show description. But thank you for spending your evening with us. It's a little later there than it is here, but we appreciate your spending time with us.
Okay, thank you so much, Nate, for this conversation.
Yeah, God bless. And we will look forward to, at least I will, look forward to the documentary that you're working on. Hopefully,
I really hope
time. The Lord gives you more time.
I hope the Lord gives me more time. And when I'm traveling around, I really hope that the documentary will be somewhere. And I'm a little bit afraid I don't reach that deadline before the time I became a missionary and traveling around, that I don't have the time anymore to create it. But Arminius is always close in my heart. I know his story. He was a very important guy in our country for the freedom of thinking and religion, also in the Remonstrant world. And in our case, theological case, and a very well-known person with a great heart.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for spending this time.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Holiness Today podcast. If you enjoyed this production and wish to hear more, visit holinesstoday.org/podcast or find us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.